Have you always wanted to customize your own Blythe doll but weren't sure where to start? Well, you're in the right place. Here's Willow. She's a real basic customizing doll that I put together. I changed out her body, I took her head apart, and I gave her a matte finish. I liked her face up like it was, so I didn't add anything to it, but I did paint her eyelids blue, and I switched out some of her eye chips, like those green ones, and then those brown ones. Of course, I added some beads to her pull charm and gave her a cute little book charm at the end because I turned her into a bibliophile character. I made her outfit and all that kind of thing. So you can really do a lot with these little AliExpress dolls and turn them into really fun characters and just do a little bit of customizing to enjoy the doll hobby. I've combined 3 videos that I've had on my channel for a while. I will also put links to them down below if you prefer to watch them individually. But to make things a little easier sequentially, I've put them all together, starting with how to take the doll apart, then how to take her eye mechanism out and give her sleepy eyes, and then how to put her back together again. So let me know how it goes in the comments down below. If you have any questions, that's also a good place to put them. And go ahead and subscribe because I have some videos already on my channel under the playlist for customizing, and I have more on the way. I'm going to show you how to open up a Blythe doll head today. So I have gotten into customizing again, and I've had a little bit of success, and I wanted to share my journey with you. One of the things that you have to do when you start customizing dolls, the Blythe dolls, is take their heads apart. So I'm going to show you how I take their heads apart. And I will say I struggle with hand strength sometimes. I have bone loss in my wrists, and so that can be kind of a pain sometimes, but I've been managing to get it done, and every once in a while I have to get my husband to help me, but generally speaking I'm trying to do it on my own so I don't bother him with that kind of thing. So this dolly is one that I got from a viewer. She donated a number of dolls to me, and she's actually, this doll is a little bit customized. The eyes that she has now are new eye chips that the other gal put in. She also has some artwork on her back plate. And let's see, let's take another look at her other eye chips. I believe these are the only ones that she changed. So let's take a look, see. These are the side gray, the front blue, and the side brown. So yeah, so she just changed out the one set of eye chips. And I love these, I'm gonna keep them. She also added some charms and beads to the pull cord. Oh, there, get it in the shot. Okay. And I do have plans to do some additional customizing on this doll. I am giving this doll to my sister to use. She's going to be visiting soon, and we're going to do some beach trips. And so instead of her hauling one of her dolls down here, I said, I'll bring a doll for you to use. And I thought it would be fun to do some light customizing on this doll. Now, she already, besides the fact that she's got the back plate decorated and eye chips changed in one of her sets, she also has a matte face. She came already, this is a factory fakey matte face doll. So she came this way. I'm pretty sure the other person did not put any sealant or anything on her. So my thoughts right now, I plan to give her sleepy eyes and paint her eyelids. But for this particular video, I'm just going to show you how I take one of these dolls apart. And I'm going to try to do it slowly with the assumption that maybe you haven't ever done this before. She is, by the way, wearing a little bikini that I made. I guess these are a tankini. So I made this last summer. And yes, we're going to leave that on her bod. And in order to work on her, the first thing I have to do is take her head apart. So I'm going to do that first. Notice I have a towel here, and that's because it's just a regular dishcloth type towel that I've doubled. It's old and stained, so it's perfect for this kind of thing. I don't have to take care of it. And I have it so that when I put her face down, that I limit the possibility of scratching up her face. And so that's to help with that. As far as supplies for taking her apart, I have this little screwdriver set. You will definitely need a Phillips head. Let me get the bigger one so it's easier to see. You need a Phillips head. We call it a Phillips head. I think in other countries they call it something different, but it's basically the type of screw that's this way. It's got an X to it, so you need a screwdriver that fits into the X. And you can see it's quite a small screwdriver, quite small. So anyway, so I have these, and then I also have this little tin. When I open her up to give her sleepy eyes, I'm going to need to take, there's a little spring inside and some other small parts like screws and stuff. And I have found it, just to make sure that I don't, lose them, I found it useful to have this little tin. And when I take stuff out, I put it all in here, the cord and everything. I'll keep it in here so that when I come back to work on her, everything is contained and I don't lose any parts and pieces. So let's take a close look at the back of her head. There are multiple parts to these Blythe doll heads. And this is called the back plate. And the back plate has a number of screws. It's 3 screws. Typically there will be 3 screws. One up here at the top. And then one on either side. All right. So the very first thing I need to do is get my Phillips head screwdriver in there and unscrew them. And hopefully they will be easy to do. Let us see. It depends on how tight they are. So to help keep her hair out of the way, I got a human size ponytail holder, and I just put her hair in a ponytail way up high. All right, so I'm going to try the top one first. Remember, lefty loosey, righty tighty. So I'm twisting it to the left. Yay, it's working. Not hard at all. All right, get my little tin out. There we go. And take the other one out. Yeah, not bad. Like I said, it looks. I'm using quite a bit of muscle here for me. It's a lot of muscle, but like I said, I have very weak hands and wrists, so it's not what is more difficult for me is less difficult for regular people. Woo, I got it. All right, there we go. So I got my 3 screws out. I'm going to put those up there on my sewing machine. Put it out of the way. All right, so she's got her screws out. Now the next thing to do is crack her open. You can see there's a seam up here, and there's a seam all around her face. So this is her front face plate. This is her back face plate. We want to open her up on the side. And typically what you can do is press, let me get this out of the way, press on her and crack her open. All right, so you can see she's starting to come apart a little bit here. That's good. That's what we want. Oh, yeah. Good, good, good. More of that. All right, so let me get a little bit more on the other side. Again, I'm a weakling. So there we go. Now, I'm going to take... There we go. Oh, sometimes I'll take a screwdriver and just push it in there and pop it open, but you have to be careful because you can end up damaging and getting this all chewed up if you do that. Ask me how I know. All right, so it's open. There comes the body. Just pops right out. All right, so that's the inside of her head. You can see there's a spring there. There is the pull cord through the hole, right? And various other thingies, but let me just mention this spring. I am going to take this spring out because I'm going to give her sleepy eyes. I do keep the springs just because, I guess, in case I ever want to use them again. If you want to do sleepy eyes, you don't need the spring in here. If you do not want sleepy eyes, you'll need to put the spring back in. So you can see it's right here. It's hooked on here and hooked down here. And I need a pair of pliers for that. Oh, or maybe not. Or you could just pull it and it pops out. But typically I use a pair of bent nose pliers like this, and I get in there and just pop it out like that. So it's still attached on the one end, so I will use my bent nose pliers, but you can see there's just like a hook on either end of the spring, so it is very easy to take off. You got to get your little fingers in there. Nope, just came right out. Right, I'm going to put that in my little tin so that I keep it just in case I want it for later. All right, we got the spring out. I also brought a little pair of scissors with me because the next thing I want to do is, and again, this is how I do it. This isn't the way everybody in the world does it, just FYI. But I'm going to go ahead and take this pull cord off, and you can see how it's inside here, right here. One of the things that I did when I first started doing this so I would remember how to put the doll back together again is right here. I would actually take a photograph so that I remembered how to put this back together again. So just FYI, it's kind of a good idea. I found it quite helpful. All right, so I'm just going to use my pliers and get the hold of the knot here. And pull that. And I just snip that knot right there. And pull the cord out. And I'm going to leave all the beads on here for now. I am, like I said, I'm going to give her sleepy eyes. So I don't know if I'm going to necessarily keep this cord as is. It is awfully cute though. Look at that little, oops. Look at that little charm with the little kitty. I love this charm. And I really love this one. So we'll see. We'll see what we shall see. So again, I'm putting that in my tin so I don't lose it. And right now I have the back plate completely done, taken apart. So I'm going to just set that aside. Now you notice we still have this top here. Okay, there's actually a couple of sections here for the top, and you can see we have some more screws in here. We've got a screw right here. This is keeping in what's called the T-bar, even though it looks nothing like a T to me. But this little white thing here is the T-bar. And then there's another screw back here. Hopefully you can see that. It is really hard to get to, but it is keeping the dome on the doll. And I am going to take that screw out. That's a toughie one to get to. But yeah, let me take out the T-bar first. Again, it's the type of screw that is kind of like shaped like an X or a cross, so you need what we call in the US a Phillips head. And yay, this is easy to undo, yip-de-doo-dah. In fact, before I take it apart, let me mention, so the purpose of this T-bar is there's little notches on the eye mechanism, and it helps, it navigates the eyes when they flip. So some people actually trim the T-bar down a little bit to make the eyes wider. I do not. I believe it's called boggling. That's not something I like to do, at least right now. So I like to see some of the eyelids. All right, so there's that one screw. Put it in my little tin, and then popping off the T-bar. Here we go. Popping off the T-bar. This is super important. Whatever you do when you take a doll apart, don't lose this. Okay? And in fact, if you do decide to trim it, You have to trim it the teeniest, tiniest, littlest bit ever, because if you trim it too much, the eyes won't turn. So ask me how I know. All right. So now I'm going to get that screw that's way back there. Let me see it. I'm going to attempt get my, there you go. See that screw way back there? I'm going to get it. Again, this is why you want to have something soft here. All right, I feel it coming. Lefty loosey. There we go. It's a coming. I'm going to take it all the way. This one, for whatever reason, has typically has not only a screw, but a washer with it as well. On the screw, this little part here. Again, putting it in my tin. Save it for when I put her back together again. So now we have the face plate. And the eye mechs are still in there. We're going to take those out first, or at some point. And then here is the scalp. So we've got two pieces here, a scalp and a dome. I'm not going to take these apart because I don't plan to change out her hair. But if you were going to give her some different hair, this is a piece and this is a piece, and you would pop these apart. Someday maybe I'll do that, but on my channel. But right now I don't need to, so I'm going to keep these together. All right, so I'm going to set her little scalp aside. I do love this hair, so we are going to use it on the doll. All right, so the next thing I got to do, because I do plan to paint the eyelids, I got to get this eye mech out of here. And you can see it's basically just pops right in. There's two little like hole things that it goes into. To me, this is one of the trickiest ones, again, because of my lack of hand strength. But you pull this off, and then you pull this out. One thing I've learned and read and watched videos about, do not pull on this part. You can see how thin this is, so you don't want to pull on any of this inner stuff here because you could break it. Instead, you want to pull on the bigger pieces. That's her eyelids there. See that eyelid? So pull this off to the side and off to the right, and pull this up. That's what you're supposed to do. Let's see if it'll work. Got it. Once I get it, then it just comes out. But this is, like I said, for me, it's one of the hardest things, pulling it out because of my weak fingers. So now I have eyeballs. Okay. You see the eyeballs? There's all the eye. Now, if I were to change her eye chips, this is, I would still need to take this mechanism part out of the cover. But, or I guess I don't have to, but typically they do. But I am going to, and her eyelashes are fine. She's got really good eyelashes. So yeah, so I have, let's see all the little parts and pieces we have here. Alrighty. We've got the face plate, eye mech, her bod, her back plate, and her scalp and dome. All right, so she's all taken up, and of course the tin with all the little parts and pieces. You see all that? All righty, so she's all taken apart. That is how I take apart a Blythe doll. Hi everybody, I am going to show you how I decorate eyelids for a Blythe doll. Again, this is how I do it. I know there are lots of people who have their own methods. Your mileage may vary. So obviously I have the eyes already, the eye mechanism already out of the doll. I also have some rubbing alcohol. I'm going to use that to clean the eyelids before I paint it. I have some acrylic paints. These, I got this set on sale a while ago on Amazon for about 10 bucks. And they're nice because they're just little tubes of acrylic paint. This is the acrylic paint I have decided to use for this particular doll. The color's called Cerulean Blue. I don't know if you can see that. So yeah, it's kind of a turquoise sort of blue. So here's cerulean. Here is, I think this is cobalt. I'm going to go with the cerulean. I put just a little dab on a piece of scratch paper. So yeah, this was junk that was in the mail. So got a little dab will do you. I have a Q-tip to use for the alcohol that I'm going to rub on the eyelids, and of course a paintbrush and a little cup of water to clean my paintbrush. So let's get started. All right, and of course you can see I have a little paper towel here to help me from being too messy. And forgive the fingernail polish, it's not looking that good, but I'm getting crafty today, so no point in fixing the nail polish right now because I will be getting my hands a little bit messy. All right, so first thing, this is just to clean off the any traces of dirt or oils from my hands, and I'm going to try now not to touch the eyelids at all. I got this tip from Marna at Dolls Rescue. She does quite a few, just no real reason I'm doing that, but she does quite a few face-ups herself, so I thought that was handy. All right, so I'm done with that. All right, so we have it all clean now. And basically I'm just going to bring my little palette over here. I have a small, inexpensive paintbrush and get a little paint and just start painting it on. Yeah, this is the color that I wanted. I wanted something like a bright, summery type of blue. All right, so you can see that it's not completely covered. I'm going to generously paint this back and forth a little bit on this one and then do the other one, and I'll be right back. All right, so I have generously painted the eyelids with this acrylic paint. You can see most of that little dab of paint. I've used almost all of it. Now, acrylic paint does tend to dry fairly quickly, so but, you know, I live in Florida, so most things take forever to dry. So before I do anything else at this point, I'm going to set this aside. I actually have like a little cardboard box left over from mailing, and I'm going to put this in the box, set it someplace where no animals can get to it. I have dogs and cats, so no people or animals can get to it, and allow it time to dry. And then I will take a look at it, and depending on how good I feel the coverage is, I might put another coat on it. Just from looking at it now, I can see a little bit still of the eyelid coloring under the paint, and so more than likely I will put a second coat on, but I will let you know this is a slow process. That's something I'm learning about customizing as I get further and further into this. You have to be patient and sometimes just do a little bit and wait, do something else, come back to your doll, do a little bit, wait for it to dry or whatever, come back to your doll. So we're at the waiting process now. So I will be back when this is dry. All right, I'm back, and I did put a second coat of blue paint on the eyeballs, okay, on the eyelids. I waited 24 hours, took a look at them, and felt that they just needed more coverage. So I did add another coat just like I did previously. I didn't think there was a reason to show you. It's just duplicate of what I did already. I waited another 24 hours for it to dry. Again, I live in a humid climate, so your mileage will vary with that. So the next thing I'm going to do to finish up these eyelids, I'm going to seal it with some Mod Podge. And this is glossy. You can use glossy, you can use matte, you can use other products that are similar. This is just a clear sort of sealant. It's water-based. One thing to keep in mind, I've been using paintbrushes and ruining paintbrushes with Mod Podge because I just can't seem to get it out of the paintbrush no matter how much I clean the brush. So I'm going to attempt for the first time to use just a little Q-tip, because all I want to do is coat the top of it. And once I do that, well, I'll show you the next step. So let's do that first. Basically just open up some Mod Podge, get my little, hopefully it won't be fuzzy. Let's see. Otherwise I'll have to get an old paintbrush out. Oh, it looks good. Now this dries clear, so even though it looks white right now, that's not a big deal. All right, so that is generously coated. I'm going to do the other eyelid and be right back. Now I'm taking a second little Q-tip and I'm just evening out so it's not too gloppy. All right. Now at this point you could finish. You could just let it dry and not do anything else. And like I said, this dries clear, so you would have really pretty blue eyelids if this was your doll. Okay, so like I said, this is a spot where you could just stop and have pretty blue eyelids or whatever color you pick. However, I'm going to gild the lily a little bit, and I'm going to add some glitter. This is Crystal Diamond Extra Fine glitter, and it's yeah, I gotta be careful. Basically I just take a pinch of it and sprinkle it on. Make a little pinch and sprinkle. You probably my fingers are in the way, but I'm taking a pinch and sprinkling it onto the eyelids. And I don't care if it gets on some of the eyelashes. I actually kind of like that, and I can just blow that off later. Or just knock it off right now, even a little bit. All right, so I'm going to finish up this one and then do the other one. Just pinch and drop it on top of the eyelid. All right, I think they're pretty evenly coated. I had a few glops here and there, so I just held it like this and tapped a little bit, and the glops of glitter fell down. I'm going to put this back in my box and let it dry again for at least 24 hours, and then I will come back and show you the finished results after it's dry. And now I'm going to give her sleepy eyes and put her all back together again. So if you see, I already have some beads here. This was her original pull strand, pull ring with the strand of beads on it and charms. And I'm actually going to try to keep as much of this as possible. I am going to take off this charm and not use it. I think I'm going to put this one on the end, and I'm going to use these beads, and I'm going to use this cording here. That's nothing wrong with it. It's good cording. I'm going to go ahead and reuse it. But for sleepy eyes, you need two cords. One opens the eyes, the other, or actually one closes the eyes, and the other one switches the eye mechanisms to the next set of eye chips. So for the second one, I'm going to use this. It's waxed cording. It's like linen, so it's pretty strong. I've used it and I've been happy with it. And one of the things is it's a little bit thinner, not quite as thick as the traditional cording, and so you're able to get more beads onto it. As far as other beads and charms, I picked out this little fishy charm bead. I'm going to put, I think, on the other end. This is what I'm planning anyway. So I'm thinking this will be on one end, this will be on another end of the cords. And then I have just an assortment of white beads, these little blue ceramic beads, some more blue beads, and some yellow. All right, so basically we've got yellow and blue kind of mixed together here, and we will see how that goes once I start once I get to that point. But right now we're not ready to string beads. I like to have them ready and kind of figured out what I'm going to do with them. But at this point, what I'm going to do is actually take off these from here. And I'm going to attempt to remove this. Typically, it's just knotted on, and I've had fairly good luck with just taking the knot out. I can either use my fingers or a pair of pliers. And you'll notice I have scissors here. I have just some glue. I like to put glue on the knots when I'm done, but that's at the very, very end. And I have some screwdrivers, Phillips head screwdrivers, and these are the little nuts and bolts and the T-bar that I originally took out of the doll when I took her apart. So let us see if I can get, yeah, I'm having success here. It's just coming right off, not a problemo. And you could keep this on if you wanted to, but I like to have charms on the end. So we'll see how it goes. This is part of like the little creative part of it that I really like, especially because I also make jewelry. I was really into it for about 20 years and did lots of actually commercial work with how to make jewelry. If anybody ever saw me on about.com, and I have some books out. So I really like this part of it. It kind of brings in my jewelry making with me. Alrighty, so now I have my 2 cords ready. This one I cut, it's a little more than a foot long. It's always good to have extra because if you change your minds about something or you goof something up, it's easier to just cut off the ends and, you know, fix it that way once you have tied these inside of the head here. So I always, if you can, make them a little bit longer. So the next part of the process is I'm going to attach these cords to the eye mechanism, or at least one of them, before I put this inside of the faceplate. You can put it in and then put the cords on, but I have found because the first one we have to do is this hole right here. See, there's a hole right there. So it goes through here onto the other side. And if this is inside the faceplate, trying to snake this cording into this hole once it's inside the eye mechanism is not impossible to do, but it's not ideal. Okay, so always put your cords in, especially this one here, before you put the eye mech and you pop it back in. And I will be popping it back right in here. If you saw the other video where I pulled it out, you can see these little notches in here. I have terrible lighting today because we have an overcast day in Florida, but we really need the rain. So I'm trying to do my best with lighting, but these little notches, these little ends here, I'm going to pop them back into those notches. Alrighty, so now I'm ready to attach my first cord. I'm going to use this one. This is the thinner of the two. And I would estimate this to be about 1 millimeter thick. So just so you know. So there's 2 sides to this section down here. One side is flat and one side's kind of got like a little bump with a hole in it. And in my first video where I took this doll apart, I suggested that one thing I do sometimes when I'm, you know, in the beginning when I was first doing this, I would take a photograph of the inside of the head before I took the eye mechs out, and that always helped me remember, because this is crucial. You're going to insert one end of your cord through the flat side through to the bumpy side. There's a little, you know, like there's like little finger looking things that come out. All right, so you're gonna stick it through there. Obviously, this is important to have cording that fits through that hole. And then you're going to tie a knot on the end so it doesn't come out. I do a couple overhand knots. And it can be helpful for me to take my pliers and just pull a little bit so it's nice and tight. I'm going to do another one. Again, pull it so it's nice and tight. All right. And you don't want to have a long piece here, because it's gonna, once you put everything in there, this can kind of get in the way. So I'm going to trim off just past the knot, trim off that little extra piece with my sharp scissors. And then I'm going to take a little bit of glue and just put a dab of glue. Can you see that? Put a dab of glue on my knot. Just a little bit on the knot. You don't need a bunch. All right. And then I'm going to let that dry for a few minutes before I keep going. All right, so it's still a little tacky, but my glue is drying now, so I'm going to go ahead and put the other string in. You can see when you pull it, now this particular cord, this is how it looks. The other string, the other cord that you need to do is you have to attach it up here. So like I said, the Sleepy Eyes has two cords. This is the first one. I recommend doing it before you put the eyeballs back in. I'm going to go ahead and put the second one in too before I put it back in there. At this point, you could pop it in if you wanted to, but not necessary. I'm going to go ahead and use this end. You can see it's kind of crinkled because I'm reusing it, but it should be okay. And I don't think it matters which side. I've watched a number of videos and read a number of blog posts about this, and it seems to be the consensus is either side here doesn't really matter which side. So I'm just going to put it through there. And again, overhand knot. I'm going to use my pliers here. Especially with this second cord, since I'm reusing it and it's a little bit shorter than the other one, I want to try to get the knot down as close to the end as possible. All right, and basically do the same thing. I'm going to put a little dab of glue on this knot and trim off a little bit of this other cording on the other side of the knot. You don't need all that. Get a little glue out here. This is all-purpose glue. It dries clear. It doesn't really matter though because it's inside of the head. You won't see it. All right. There you go. So I have one cord up here and one cord down here. Make sure you can see that. All right, now, God willing, and the creeks don't rise, as they say, I'm going to pop this, like I said, into the little slots right in here. And this one came out pretty quickly and easily, so hopefully it'll go in the same way. There we go, just popped right in there, yay! All right, it got in there, no problemo. Okay, at this point, the eyes aren't going to be able to flip yet still because I have to put in the T-bar. And I mentioned that in my previous video. This is super important that you don't lose the T-bar. You can see the T-bar has a little concave side and a flat side. The concave side fits into this little spot right there. So I'm going to press that on it and pop that right in there, and then I take a screw and I'm going to screw it in. Okay, so I am not trimming this. Some people will trim the end of it right here, just a teensy tiny bit, and if you do that, it'll make the eyes wider. I'm okay with the eyes as is, so I won't be trimming the T-bar. But you just pop it on there, get my Phillips head ready. And I kind of press it in there. You got to, you know, it fits in. Like I said, there's a little concave side, and that's the side you push down there. And now I'm going to put one of the screws that I saved when I took her apart. And I'm just going to screw that in. First, get it going with my fingers. There we go. We got the T-bar in and 2 cords. Let's give it a test drive. All right, it is the moment of truth. Obviously, the next thing I need to do is make sure that the eyes actually switch so that they do before I put her all back together again. All right, so this is the front of her. Here are the cords. This is the one that actually changes the eye mechanism. It actually, when you pull it, it'll turn the eye mix. So let's flip it around here. This is what she's starting with. And then here, oops. Here we go. We're going to close them up and pull it. I hear it clicking. Pull the other cord to open them. There we go. Yay! It worked. All right, let me run through the whole eyes. Again, a click. There we go. A click. There we go. All right, so yay. It is working. Now to put her all back together again and give her some beads for these cords. Now we're ready to put the doll back together again, all of the parts and pieces. Got the body back here. Got our Phillips head screwdriver again. Now we're going to pull out the screws that I set aside when I took her apart. I have her back plate here. Have the front plate and her scalp. So first I'm going to attach the scalp, and that means lining this up here with this here and adding the screw. You know that the screw that I took out of there had the washer on it, so it was this one right here. There are lots of different ways to do this. Again, this is how I do it. I first put the screw in to this little hole right here and just screw it in a little teeny bit, not all the way. Just a few turns with my fingers. And now I'm going to line this up with the screw, trying to make sure I don't get the hair caught. No wisps of hair in there. My screwdriver, get in there and righty-tighty. Before I put it all the way in, I'm going to take a quick look. Make sure I have it lined up here. No hair stuck in there. I'm going to finish tightening it. I think that's working. Oh, there we go. All the way. Again, make sure there's no hair stuck in there before I move on. Especially when you have bangs. That can be an issue. So, yep. Base plate is now connected to the scalp. The next part of the process is I have to add the body back and attach the back plate. And there are 2 holes in the back plate. We have this big square one and this littler round one. This one up here is a hole, but that is for the screw. That one, and that one is where you're going to put the screws back. Because this turquoise colored cord is the thinnest, I'm going to put it through this little hole. And then this one I'm going to stick through the square hole. Again, make sure the hair's out of the way as much as possible. And you can see, like, there's these little things here that you're going to line up with these holes right here. And before I close it all the way up, however, I'm going to line it up first. But I'm not going to close it up yet because I got to get my body in there. And that, in fact, before I do that too much further, the body just lays into this area right here. You can see there's a little curved spot. That's where the neck goes. Line everything up and snap the head closed. Oh, there's a little bit of hair there. I want to get that out. All right. Ooh, got the little bit on the other side there. Okay. Still got to hear one more snap here. This side snapped close. This one is still open a little. I'm just going to mess with it. There we go. Alright, so got the scalp on. We've got the cords out. Now I can attach the back plate. I mean, it's on there really well, but the next step is I have to add the screws. One here, and one here. Again, I just used the screws I had before. Pop them in there. Use my screwdriver and add them in. Oop. And the last screw, then all I have left is this little spring, which I keep for I don't know why reasons, but we don't put it back in there. There's no reason to add the spring back. Alright, she's all put back together again. Yay! And just before I move on, I'm just going to make sure that the pull cords are still working all right. Oops, a little fuzz there. What is that? A little bit of fuzzies. There we go. All right, so next I have to do is add some beads and some charms to the pull cords, and she'll be ready. I'll be right back to show you the finished doll. All right, she's all done, and I put a little outfit on her. She's ready for the beach. She's sleeping right now. But anyway, so here are her beaded pull strings. One little thing I should remind everybody, when you do give them beads on their pull strings, make sure that you leave a good inch or so, a good couple of inches, because you can see when I pull the strings, they go up, they move up. So, and I tend not to make my pull cords super duper long. Like sometimes I've seen dolls that have like cords that go down to the ground, when all the way down to their feet, and for me I think that can kind of get in the way a little bit. But anyway, I put some turquoise and yellow glass beads on this one with the fish on the end. I reused the pretty flower pendant on the other string and reused the beads and just added the little turquoise e-beads. I think she turned out super cute, and I think my sister will like her, and we'll have a good time at the beach with her. Yeah, let's go to the beach. So thanks so much for stopping by. As usual, I always appreciate a thumbs up. Please make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon for notifications, and have a wonderful dolly day. Let me know if you have any questions or suggestions in the comments below. Bye bye.